No problem.
He'll still find a way.
Hi, Martha.
Jim, how are you?
I'm good.
You ready, Bruce? You? I'd like to call the Londonderry Selectboard meeting of Monday, July 1st, 2024 to order. Additions or deletions to the agenda?
There's one recommended there. I'll take yours.
No,
Anyone care to make that motion?
I move to add to the agenda as the last item under old business, a discussion of the Williams Dam Advisory Committee charter.
Second.
All those in favor? Aye. All right, item 3, minutes approval. Meetings of 6/17, 6/20, and 6/24/2024.
I move to approve the minutes of the select board meeting of June 17th, 2024, June 20th, 2024, and June 24th, 2024.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Item 4.
Just wanted to commend our new minutes taker, Wendy Levi. Levi's done a great job so far. 2 out of the 3 minutes she did, and I think she's done a great job.
Great.
All right, item 4 is select board pay orders.
I move to approve the pay orders for payroll and accounts payable.
Second.
All those in favor? Aye. Item 5 is announcements and correspondence.
Yeah, there's a bunch. Early and absentee voting for the August primary is now available. You can call the office, email the office, use the My Voter page, or send an email to make a request for an absentee ballot. Those who had made previous requests have already been sent their ballot. So if you thought you made a request and you haven't gotten it, please reach back out.
I've got a couple. To date, we've received $487,087 from FEMA reimbursements, which is pretty remarkable, and I think we're well ahead of most other towns that I've heard of. So congratulations to Bill, to Tina, and anyone else involved in that. It's really great. We still have a number of vacancies in boards and commissions, and depending on how things shake out tonight with different appointments, potentially, I'll put out a new notice of vacancies tomorrow, which will be the newspapers on the web, at the post offices and on the town's website. Insofar as the meeting packet, the only correspondence we have is an invitation from the office of U.S. Representative Becca Ballant. There's a meeting tomorrow at the New American Grill at 11 o'clock. Senator Welch will be there, thank you. And at 11 o'clock is for municipal representatives, and bidding at 11:15, I believe, is for the rest of the community. It's supposed to go on for approximately an hour, so be there if you will. And that's really all I have. Thank you.
The first Music Monday is a week from today. Turnpike is playing from 6 to 8 at Finger Park.
And the company spray guard has come to the town hall and filled in the hole in the bathroom. And he did say if it ever leaks again, he will fix it for free. So it should be good to go there. Hopefully no more leaks. Liam, you just got here. Do you have any announcements?
Kickball Friday nights, softball Sundays, not official. You'll see a post on social media, but that's the best I got right now.
Sounds good.
That's for adults.
Moving on to item 6, visitors and concerned citizens.
I'm Regina Downer, and I'm representing the Community Nurse Project, and I wanted to bring something to your attention. You have supported my Community Nurse Project generously in the past, and there's going to be a new position that's going to be announced by North Star, which is the supervising company for Springfield Hospital, and that position is called a community health worker. I printed the job description, and I think you don't have to read it now, but I think you should at least have it. May I approach? Okay. Want to give it to you?
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thanks, Virginia.
Okay. You're welcome. So I bring it to your attention because the mission statement for my community nurse project is that it exists to provide comfort and care and support and exceptional health care advocacy to all of the residents of the 6 mountain towns, which includes Londonderry and South Londonderry. This position is going to be a shared position. A community health worker doesn't really have any requirements for their background or education. And it might be confusing to the voters when they say, well, the town of Londonderry is supporting my community nurse project for $2,500 or whatever you generously give us. But this position is free to us, so how does that measure? This position is one that is billable to Medicare, and patients may not realize that. We do not charge our patients in any way. We don't want to get involved in paying Medicare for anything. And we get most of our referrals from friends, neighbors, lawyers, community members, and rather than necessarily the clinic. That position, it looks like, will be housed at Neighborhood Connections, and will cover, this person will cover patients at both Ludlow Clinic and Mount Valley. So I just wanted to bring it to your attention because it will present some confusion in the community. I am going to plow ahead and do my job. It's free, as it always has been. Your community, it is confidential. You probably don't know any of the people I see. And it is highly professional because my credentials stand with me. This position is a non-credentialed position. It has no training that I can see. I did call the state health department to find out more about it because they have an office that's devoted to this community health worker position. I called 7 times and they never answered the phone. And I sent an email and they said, sign up for an appointment to talk about this on the website, and I tried to sign up and the calendars don't actually work. So there you go. I just wanted to let you know. Yes.
So I'm thrilled to hear, about your organization again, and I'm aware of it, but also that there's an opportunity here for North Star to bring in some services. I would hope that your organization will interdigitate, work well with these folks, because I think more services the better. And yes, this is a non-credentialed position, I can tell, and so there may be opportunities for you to get referrals from them or for you to refer to them. I would just encourage you to work collaboratively, even though you're trying to differentiate them.
Well, we definitely will work with them.
Yeah.
We are currently having a medical student do ride-alongs with us. He is a new resident of Weston. He's a great kid. He works the coffee bar at Half Good Store, but on Mondays and Tuesdays, he said, I'd really like to see what community health is like. And so he's doing ride-alongs. I would have been happy to take community health worker for ride-alongs in our community to sort of introduce.
Sure, yeah, I think that's a great idea.
If that happens.
Yeah, perfect.
Just wanted to let you know.
Yeah, thank you. Yep.
Thank you.
It's a great additional resource for our town.
Anyone else? Seeing no hands, we will move on. Item 7, town official business. 7A, discuss planning commission resignations. With so many resignations, I am not going to read them all out loud. We have them in the meeting packet, which is available online, and I don't know if we have any copies in the back, but you're welcome to read them there.
But I would like us to sort of sit back and process what most of those individuals have talked about in terms of process and in terms of communication between the select board and the planning commission. Because to a person, those were issues that they felt that got in the way of their work. And I think we're beholden, as the organizing group, to understand why there was a mass resignation. We owe it to ourselves, right? So I think we should honestly, among ourselves, clearly in front of everybody, but talk about the points that were raised in here, so we don't have another problem in the future.
All right, would you like to start?
Sure. So I think the key one that I picked up on, and I think to a person they covered lots of areas, but the major feeling I drew was that the select board was not supportive to them through the process of the bylaws preparation work, which was, yes, 5 years. But they felt that, and we can read verbatim, that there was some discernible lack of support for the process. And I think we need to think about how we will give the new planning commission members our undivided attention and support, so that they too don't feel that 5 years worth of work has been disregarded, if you will, and not supported.
By supporting, I went to most of the meetings until the flood happened, and then, well, I'm sorry, I was working on flood issues after that.
Don't take it personally, I'm just talking about us as a board.
I'm
And I
just
think-
saying, as a board member, I was at a lot of the meetings.
Well, and support comes in a lot of ways, and it is about having dialogue, and it's about learning about direction in terms of where they're going. And I think we owe it to our volunteers, on whether it's a housing commission or whether it's the planning commission, that we take the major step in being open to what they're talking about and helping nurture the process, because that clearly is a point of contention from all of them.
I guess the concern I have is that I understand the entirety of the planning commission has resigned at this point.
Correct.
So my real concern is, Will is, obviously needs to be a point person, but there's no expertise. I'm not aware of, who all the applicants are. I think I saw maybe one or two. I know some people have thought about it, but without anybody experienced on zoning bylaws, and on the commission, they're reluctant to jump in because it'd be purely learn as you go, and it feels like this is a pretty sensitive time with some important work to get done. So, that's a concern.
Sometimes the only way you can learn is to learn on as you go. That's how I learned how to be a select board member.
Can we though take the action, can we talk about how we bring a new group into this committee in terms of soliciting volunteers and then vetting the volunteers? Because we haven't talked about that, and this will be my first time going through a process where you have a very important commission and you want to make sure you've got great representation on that commission. And I feel a little bit like maybe we've got the cart before the horse. We haven't talked about how we want to appoint people, how the appointment process will go. Has it been announced to the general world that there are now 6 vacancies?
7.
7.
That's why this is on the agenda.
Yeah, and I think we need to talk about that as well as what we learned from the resignations of the folks who were there before. I think they're 2 separate topics, and I think we need to talk about them.
And the appointment process is pretty simple. People put in their application, we can interview them, and then we appoint who we feel like we need to.
Right, but have we had an open call for individuals to come to the planning commission?
Yeah, there was a vacancy sheet out with a few vacancies on it. There's been a news article about the 5 members resigning.
I get that, but
So
we
it
didn't
is out in the community.
But we didn't, as a select board, say, we are now open for candidates to submit their names, so that we got arranged. This I want to be sure that we have a cross-selection of people who are interested in serving, and that it's not, again, going to be only one kind of constituency group. I want it to be open to everybody.
It is. All you have to do is put in your application.
I get that, but I think fair notice to the general public is important on this. So
I don't disagree.
okay.
So I just want to mention that the last of the 7 planning commissioners to resign was on Saturday,
Right.
one on Friday, a series
Yeah.
of them did last week. So this is the first meeting at which
Right.
there's been a full resignation. Again, that's why it's on the agenda to talk exactly about that. We just haven't-
I think we should not rush at it, is my point. I think we should be thorough and thoughtful and make sure that the call has gone out to anybody, rather than just people who have been encouraged to do this be the only ones that are in this staff.
I haven't heard anyone tonight say they want to rush this process. so-
Right. So let's save the process topic. Let's manage this conversation. The first thing we should talk about is what we heard and learned from the resignation letters.
Go ahead.
Well, you can be helpful too. So one of the things was, as I said, making sure that the select board was supportive of the process. I think that was obvious. Else it was separate. I think, let's see, you all read the letters, I hope. So let's help Martha figure out what were some of the other things here. Sadly, this appears to have changed, and knowing this latest process has been underway for years, there appears to have been a lack of leadership to draw attention to the ongoing process beyond necessarily lawful public meeting postings.
Which is on the planning commission to put out to the public that we are having these meetings.
Okay, that's...
It's not the select board who's having these meetings.
No, it's not that, but it's our responsibility as a board to take an interest and support those people who volunteer their time. It's not that you want them to come to you and ask for your participation. It's our job to initiate it. Well,
I mean, regular updates would be nice, besides just we're still working on the bylaws.
Melissa
To
gave...
come in and sit down and go over the bylaws
Melissa was
before they
the...
gave it to us.
Melissa was the assigned representative from the board, correct? And she would give updates. Sharon came practically every meeting and gave updates as to how the process was going.
Sharon came to the meetings and said we were still working on the bylaws.
It's
We did not actually have substantial updates.
It
I'm
just-
sorry.
There was a planning commission update at the second meeting of the month for 2 years or so.
Yeah.
So Sharon normally would be the person that comes in.
Yeah. I'm reading Larry's here.
How do you go?
Like with other commissions, will the select board have a member on the planning commission?
I doubt it.
And if not,
It's a lot of
why?
work between
Well,
the select board
I
and the
would
planning
hope we
commission.
would, and I'm come off of some other responsibility if I'm going to do planning commission. I'd be happy to let the mountain town know if I could be the planning commission representative, because you're right, we do need somebody
I
there.
think there should be a separation of powers too. You should have the planning commission doing theirs, and then you should have the select board.
There is provision in there for a non-voting member, a select board member being a non-voting member of the planning commission.
Yeah.
One thing very worthy of mentioning is the fact that we had, I think that it's unfortunate for volunteers. I think it's unfortunate to let this overshadow. It's important to recognize that. And I think that underlying in a couple of the letters, it might be mentioned that way, that didn't really want to leave on these terms necessarily, but they've done it for so long that they were really, you know, a singular reason. But like I said, I think letting, I think showing gratitude
Well,
for all the work done.
And I think Sharon, huge debt of gratitude, and Larry for his tenure. So I think maybe a third thing we need to think about is how do we celebrate the work that those people did? Because that was an extraordinary contribution of their time. I would absolutely agree.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Should suffice.
At a minimum.
Yeah, whatever we all think is the right way to thank them for that, yeah.
But
Does this make sense, or is it totally off the wall? What about a position to be like liaison between the commission and the select board, attend both meetings and keep the other board and commission informed?
that's something we have done with some commissions lately, but it should be the planning commission's job to keep the select board informed.
I think there's an elephant somewhere in this room that's hiding. I wasn't at the meeting, so I don't have any firsthand knowledge of what happened, but obviously 7 people that volunteered and put a lot of time and effort into this felt in a way that they felt resign from the commission. So I think when we're talking about support or whatever, I think they felt to look at those letters, people were pretty upset that resigned. So I don't have an answer for it. Wasn't there and didn't experience it, so I can't comment on it directly. I think maybe the most positive thing that came out of it is that everyone probably reflect on what happened and why people resigned, and just take that into consideration going forward.
Thank you, Bill. Yeah.
Anything else?
Well, can we talk about process?
Thought we already did.
Nope. How would you like to make sure that this is as much of an open opportunity for anybody to know that there are openings and that they, yes, can submit their names, but that we get to make the choices?
I mean, that's us making the choice, it's state statute.
No, I'm talking about making an open call for,
We put out a poster at the post office on the website,
okay, give it a couple weeks.
give it to the next meeting, see how many we got. If we want to keep going, we can keep going. And then we pick who, and we interview everyone,
Yep.
and we pick the applicants we choose.
Are you guys okay with that?
Yeah, I mean, that sounds fair. And I mean, if we were hiring or anything, we would do the same thing,
Sure.
interviewing. And I don't know if we've done full-on interviews in the past, but when we're replacing an entire board, it probably makes sense to know our applicants.
The way it's done, usually done in the past, was the planning commission would submit their applicant. They would,
Right.
Suggestions,
It
right,
falls on us now.
and then it would come to us, yeah.
right.
You know, I think our job should be to have an array of expertise that ensures that we've got the kind of backgrounds that will work well to move, first of all, the bylaws through. The other thing that's on the docket is the
Wastewater.
master plan, the what?
Wastewater,
Wastewater's there, yep.
I mean, that's a separate committee. too.
Yeah, so I think we should be sure that the board is well-staffed with competencies in lots of different areas.
Big shoes to fill.
Yeah, huge shoes to fill.
Oh, we had one in the back first.
For the open select board position, was there an email that was sent out to people on town email list?
Yes, it did get sent out on the town email list.
And
There
the
was a
warning got
vacancy
sent out
sent
to
to
everybody.
Can we do the same thing for, I mean, given the fact that there's so many openings, can you do the same thing?
We can put it out on the email list.
Good idea.
We don't really have that many subscribers, so.
Yeah, it's not a complete list.
Because I was subscribed to it.
And a lot of them are in real estate and are out of town.
Yeah.
Yeah.
In the
We can send the
mailing,
whole list, not just the planning commission vacancy list.
and as far as the mailings go, that took, what, 3-4 days of your time of doing nothing but mailing? And cost about, what, $700, I think you figured out in postage?
I would recommend an advertisement in the local papers.
That's a good idea.
Front page forum is also real simple and free.
Is it nonpartisan?
Front porch?
It is.
The front porch is-
Forum.
Is it? Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's,
I don't know it, but, I mean, I know
it's
of it,
not,
but I don't.
it's not a Facebook
participate
thing.
in it.
But if, you know, a call into Vermont Digger, a couple of local papers, just, they write
Sure.
up stuff like this all the time, so.
Well, Andrew's here from June now. We got an article coming along, probably. Yeah.
Well, there was an article already.
Manchester Journal.
And Reform.
And just,
And how, if you're willing to, the third item is, how do we thank the folks that have done all that work? The letter from the chairman.
That's a good question. I mean, at the very least, just recognition. I know in other cases, there's been, individual recognition. This is an entire board, so it's maybe different. I don't know how that works, but.
You can have a resolution read into the minutes that, for all time says, on this day, we recognized X person for their service of whatever. You just have a little brief blurb, and it then just becomes part of the minutes. That's another way to do it.
I think that may suffice as a very sincere thank you for
Yep.
efforts.
And maybe a card or something that, I'm happy to create a card that I can bring it to the next meeting, we can all sign them. It's an individual card that just says thanks.
Sounds good.
Yep. Okay, I appreciate your patience in talking this through.
Absolutely.
Anything else? All right. Moving on to 7B, Planning Commission consider appointments to fill vacancies. I think we already came up with
Thank you, yeah.
strategy here.
I did want to mention, we have 8 applications in already. Presume we'd get more if we continue the advertising.
That's good.
Yeah.
Chad?
So I have a question on the discussion of who can apply or who Martha would like to apply. The question was, what is the expertise of the people that are applying? And I guess my question is what was the expertise of the people on the board when they first joined the board? What was Sharon's expertise in planning
I don't think I can
35
answer
years
that.
ago? What was Larry's expertise 33
Is
years
this
ago?
pertinent?
We
Can I
can't-
ask,
What
is
was
this
we can't
pertinent?
answer
expertise 12 years ago? There's 80 years of cumulative time, and when they entered the board, they had no knowledge of what a planning
That's actually not true. My mom went to school in later years in her life for town planning. She went to Norwich
She
University.
worked for the Winter Regional Commission.
She had
But I'm
a
saying
lot of
she got
experience.
on the board.
Oh, yeah.
What was her expertise
I don't
35
think this
years
is
ago?
pertinent, it's not helping anything.
Tom?
I can't answer that. I wasn't on the board 35 years ago. I don't even think I was driving at that point.
I believe Larry's an architect as well,
Yes.
he's a licensed architect.
As far as some of the people who've applied, there's been construction, there are people who own businesses in town. So we're getting an array of people.
It might be worth contacting the LCT to see if you can get them to come in and do a training for planning commissioners. I think they will do things like that.
Yes.
And you can get, when they're in May, but it's definitely something that the LCT could do if you asked. And it could even be opened up to other, other towns. Planning commission members.
Nothing further, we'll move on. 7C, Mountain Towns Recreation Director Advisory Committee, consider appointment to fill vacancy. There it is. We have an application in here. Page 35.
Yep.
Oh, I don't want to, afraid I'm gonna butcher this name. Quick. Okay, there you go. People do it to me all the time, so I don't want to do it to them.
Is he here tonight? Is he here?
He's unable.
He's unable to come, yep.
I could get him on FaceTime if we need.
Would you like me to speak to him? I mean,
Go ahead.
yeah, so, we had a resignation, right? And then Rick has come forward. This is a very, this is a veteran of Major League Baseball. Be a great ad, and he's very involved with youth camps, so youth sports camps. So I think he'd be a great ad. He sat in on our last meeting. He did, yeah.
May I add something?
Yeah.
In the spirit of what was just discussed, I would like to say thank you very much to Sarah Kiefer for her time. It was before me, obviously, because the committee ended up choosing me, but my understanding is that Sarah was an integral part of making the position even happen. And she just decided it's going well and ready to support herself more. So just wanted to thank her again for that. And Rick, we just completed 3 weeks of youth baseball camp. It was just had a recent meeting with him to debrief that and talk about where we can go in the future, expanding that camp, potentially working with other towns to expand summer leagues for youth baseball, not in an all-star fashion, but in a more inclusive fashion. And Rick is just ready to hit the ground running and help in any way he can. So I don't think I have any kind of say in this, but I do support Rick being on the committee for sure.
Yeah.
Sounds very qualified.
Not just a baseball player, he's a Cy Young Award winner.
Yes.
Only issue is to play for the Red Sox and Mets.
Tigers as well. Who found him?
Well, so he actually stopped the town out well over a year ago when he was first moving here and said, I'm going to be in the community and I would really like to get involved. So that's part of where this summer camp that they just came from, was him coming to a parks meeting, I think, at the time, and talking about wanting to do that. So this is not his first, time putting his hand up and saying he wants to be involved. It's been,
We like those community volunteers.
yes.
Anyone can make a motion?
I move to appoint Rick Porcello as the town's community member at large to the Mountain Towns Regional Recreation Directory Advisory Committee.
Second.
All those in favor? Aye. Congratulations, Rick.
Let's see baseball come somewhere now.
Moving on to 7D, Londonderry Housing Commission, consider annual appointments. believe that is Bill Cincigali.
A
Is
neighbor.
Bill fine?
I'm sorry?
Is Bill fine? I said Bill, but.
Bill.
Bill, that's fine.
And Bill, you're an incumbent in the position, right?
Yes.
Yeah, yeah.
If I can make a comment, I'm Patty Eisenhower, Chair of the Housing Commission, and I just want to recommend his appointment for another term. He's been a great addition to our group. He brings extensive finance experience and background, and I think he's a great asset for our group. Thank you.
Cool. I would make a motion if we're
Go ahead.
happy with that. I move to reappoint Bill Cincigali to the Londonderry Housing Commission for a 3-year term extending to June 30th, 2027.
Second?
All those in favor?
Aye. Welcome back. Thank you.
Well, there is an open select board representative seat for the housing commission.
That was Melissa?
Yeah.
That was Melissa. I would love to do that.
I'd love to have you.
Yeah, yeah.
All right. Anyone care to make that motion?
I move to appoint Martha Dale as the select board representative to the Londonderry Housing Commission for a 1-year term extending to 6/30/2025.
Okay,
Second.
All those in favor?
aye.
Aye. Thank you, Martha.
Thank you.
Question, there were also planning commission members on the housing commission. If I read some of the letters correctly, even though they were stepping down from their other positions, they had indicated they were willing to continue working on the housing commission, so I would suggest that be considered, because otherwise, who knows when we'll get 2 planning commission members to join the housing commission.
There was only one planning commission member who was appointed to the housing commission. And so I presume that once a new planning commission is established, one of their first orders of business would be to
Yeah.
appoint someone.
Shane, if I can clarify, there may be one more position available on our group, so that former planning commission member could possibly apply as a citizen. Is that an option?
Oops. I'll look up what is available.
I don't see a problem if someone's intention was to resign only from the planning commission membership, then that doesn't necessarily take you out of anything else you volunteer. It's not a condition of other volunteer positions, so.
I know Larry is on the town hall renovation committee, and it's independent of his planning commission membership, so I know he's interested in staying with that.
If he's willing to continue with those, whether it's housekeeping for the committee to make that reappointment, I don't know, but I wouldn't consider them not on the committee because of the planning commission resignation. That's
Yeah, Marion
My
Morris
perception.
was the planning commission rep,
Yeah.
and, but there are no other vacancies at this time. Oh, actually, yeah, Mimi Lyons.
Yeah, maybe.
Oh, yeah, that's
She
that's independent from the planning commission. It was Mary Ann who was the planning commission rep. so.
So is there an opportunity for her
Or
to be reappointed?
Mimi,
No,
Mary Ann.
Mary Ann.
if she is on a planning commission, the way it was set up, the original charge from June of 2023 specified that it would be 1 select board member, 1 planning commission representative.
Right.
So that particular position would be the only one affected by the resignations?
Correct.
Okay.
The others could continue with no changes? Does that make sense?
Yeah,
The board could always increase the number of participants,
okay.
it's possible also.
Moving on to item 8, transfer station, solid waste management, 8A is updates. Don't have any updates at this time.
We closed on third,
Which day?
Oh, Thursday, July 4th.
Fourth, no, the transfer station's closed on the 4th, but we're closed on the 4th and 5th. We should announce that.
Can you say the second part again? The transfer's on the 4th, and then
We are closed on Thursday and Friday.
Thursday and Friday, okay.
Item 9, roads and bridges, 9A is updates. We got the Rest Haven culverts. in.
Yep, the Rest Haven culverts were completed. I heard a rumor today about some more FEMA stuff coming through with particularly the Reinhardt Road box culvert. If that,
The word at this time is that they are working internally on funding that through the initial public assistance program, as opposed to us having to go through hoops with the mitigation program. So this is, we're crossing our fingers that they are willing to fund that project. Which doesn't mean they're funding Barker Road, which is just downstream. So that's a mitigation project that the board's gonna have to get together, probably the next meeting, to talk about what are our mitigation projects. Applications for which are due August 16th, I believe.
which, that particular Reinhardt Road project would have otherwise been between $500,000 and $600,000.
That's a good number. I mean, it's an 18-foot box culvert, not a deep one, but it, you know, 4 to 6
Significant structure though.
Yeah.
So that's good news.
Again, that's thanks to Bill.
What's that?
Again, that's thanks to Bill.
Yes, thank you to Bill for his FEMA efforts. He's the one that speaks FEMA fluently on our behalf, thankfully. Other stuff coming up, access permits, paving, we haven't heard a time frame for that yet.
I still owe them the contract, which I'll pull together sometime this week.
They've been notified, they've been
Yeah.
awarded the
Yeah,
contract.
the next
and
day they
stuff,
got
so-
notice.
Yep.
Haven't heard anything about them.
Nothing on the backhoe yet.
But they had it in the yard.
It was right there, and now it's, nobody's talking, I guess. It might still be there, but I haven't heard anything through anybody about it.
I have the guy's number, I'll give him a call again.
Our truck is next in line.
When do we think
To be
that'll
finished.
arrive?
Well, it's next in line, it has to go get all the things on it that
Right.
it needs.
Right.
Hopefully by winter.
Yeah, I think we could safely count on it for the winter season. Anything prior to that probably is pipe dream, but.
Yeah.
I have a question for us. I know this is not a town road. I was wondering if any of you guys know what the story is with the never-ending bottomless pit on the way up 100 from South Londonderry.
So there have been plans for years now. I forget the first time I talked to Mark Pickering about that, which was probably 3 years ago. There are plans to put a box culvert in there. I've heard rumors maybe next year. Every year, every time I ask him, I see him and I ask him, he said, we didn't get the funding this year, so.
Oh, the one that keeps
Yeah,
falling in?
I know people have complained again this year too, V-Trans.
That's a big project.
New pavement in it.
Yeah, someone did call Josh, I
I rode
wrote.
my bike over it the other day and there was a hole. You could not see where the bottom went. It was
Yeah.
frightening.
That's one of the problems with doing that project is the structure that's there now is like 16 feet in the ground. It's really deep, so I think that's a consideration with how they have to rebuild it. So it's more complicated than it looks by the
Just
sounds.
keep planning on driving around for a while.
Unfortunately, I'd have to say, yeah, I think that's probably what's in the future for this year at least. But I know someone did complain to Josh, and Josh called V-Trans and relayed the complaints. And
Maybe when somebody.
I know Mark Pickering keeps telling me it's gonna happen, but keeps telling me every other time, well, we didn't get the funding this
Sooner or
year.
later,
So.
they'll be right.
Yeah. One of these years.
They had the big, V-Trans had that meeting with us last year to talk about the culvert at the Taylor Farm for cows.
Yeah.
Right.
And they're moving that along, and this is not getting moved.
Well, that's required under state law, the cattle crossing.
Well, this,
Just saying it
For all the
is.
cattle that are there.
this one might be required when someone's car ends up in the hole. Hopefully we don't get there though.
Okay.
Alright, moving on to 9B, access permit 2024-06, 252 Gleeview Road, parcel 045001.000.
Any problems with it?
Well, I think this is a point of discussion because
Is this one the Green Mountain Power?
it relates to other similar projects, I guess. It is a road access permit, but technically, it's not for a driveway cut, and it's more related to underground power, and we don't really have a specific protocol for that, other than falling back on state statute. at
Yeah,
this
it's all,
point, right?
it's the need for any kind of access permit or this sort of thing. Any use of a town road requires select board approval under 19 VSA 1111, or something like that, where the board has the ultimate authority over any use of the town highway, be it for vehicular access or for utility access. That's what this is, the latter too. But we should be updating our form to have a better reference to standards that we would have for undergrounding.
Yeah, I wondered if it wouldn't be either a separate part of the same application or maybe a separate application for things that are other than a road cut.
Yeah, I have examples from other communities that just haven't got to it.
I know, I promised to try to get together with you and Josh and
Yeah.
hash it out too.
The state has specifications, we can always just adopt those, and that's what a lot of communities actually do.
Yeah,
They have
and
their spec sheets attached.
Green Mountain Power, who's next on the list for application, they have their own design requirements, and some of which I thought were, I mean, they're a large company that does this kind of thing in towns all over the state, and Greg Heaton was a good resource for the way that they do it, because he's done it before, but he just was asking us how we'd like to see it done, and it's like, we don't really have a specific.
Right. We did it last year with, on Barker Road, and there we just required 24-inch burying on the side of the road as well as crossing. Here, looking at the specs that were put out by Green Mountain, they had, on their own, are suggesting a minimum of 48 inches, and so that's what I threw into the recommended motions.
One other key point that other towns have and are very specific about is using metal conduit or optionally encasing it in concrete.
Right.
I think if you left it as an option, you help the applicant one way, it helps the town when we're ditching or a driveway owner is replacing their culvert or any other activity around the road, you're going to be protected from the wire being too close or being in the way of a culvert. So there's some very specific language, I guess, about, like you said, depth, 48 inches down when you're crossing the road. If it's a straight run and there's no ledge and you're just going across the road, I don't see why you couldn't use metal conduit. If the ground is uneven because of rock, or you can't quite get the depth that you need, then you use the option of encasing it in concrete. And I think having those two options would be it's a good requirement for the town to have, and it allows a little bit of flexibility depending on the situation. So if you can't meet the 48-inch depth, then you put in, you know, a minimum of like 4 inches of concrete or metal conduit, something along those lines.
So you could easily just build that into whatever motion the board passes, you know,
Yeah,
as an option.
I think, I know Weston does that, and there's several other towns that have their own language, but I think that's an important one. The one coming up after this one is in a position where it actually goes across the road, and then it meets where the driveway access is, so it's underneath a culvert as well. So when that culvert gets replaced, they're going to be digging right over the top of this line. So I think that's an important position to have either metal or concrete. And I mean, the concrete one is it would be, I like the flexibility of having the choice, because there's like a 6 or maybe might even be an 8-yard minimum for buying concrete these days. And if you're just going across a road, that's a burden for the town or the applicant or Green Mountain Power or whoever. If they were doing it anyway as they go along the rest of the service, then they could splash a little concrete in there and it's fine. But if they could just choose to put a pipe in, I think it's a good option. So I would recommend that it might be in the language of the other one.
Yeah, sort of have a catch-all at the end of the recommended motion, so that all roadway work conducted and materials placed shall be to the satisfaction of the town's road foreman and/or road commissioner, and guaranteed for a year.
Number 4.
Right.
Whoops, you got me already seconded. What?
Oh, I did, didn't I?
Guaranteed for a year is seconded by me. No, I get that.
That was cut and paste from a previous meeting.
It's okay.
I did it the second time, too.
Yes, you did. You were consistent.
So I think from the perspective of road maintenance, I definitely prefer the 48 inches. I almost think the distance from the edge of the road was even a little bit more than 24 inches, but
Yeah, the 24-inch parallel to the road, that was the one on Barker Road that was done last year.
so as long as we were considering finished grade, the bottom of the ditch, maybe there's just some wording there.
I don't even think they're going, I'm not even sure that in either of these circumstances they're going on the side of the road so much.
Right. So maybe I'm getting bogged down in sort of writing our policy about it when maybe really we're just trying to answer this particular one. So
That's where I'm going, it's just, let's get these done and try to spend some time to get more globally, come up with a good policy.
Yeah, that sounds fair. So then if, I'm not making a motion, I'm just reading the language. Permit is conditioned on Green Mountain Power signing as co-applicant to the permit.
Because they're presently, they'll be owning the
service is there.
Yeah, so they should be part of this.
Yep. Conduit parallel is 24 inches.
Does it seem like enough?
Well, I think that's something that we're gonna have to revisit. If we make an actual ordinance or a permit, a permit process that is specifically to utilities under a road, which is gonna come up more and more.
For sure.
It's definitely something that we'll have to revisit, but as it pertains to these, we can probably get through it by just saying, we could say 24 inches below the ditch level. I don't know if that's a critical point here, but, and then 48 inches down. And I think it would be fair to add, and encase them in either metal conduit or 4 inches of concrete.
Can I ask a silly question? Does concrete break more easily than a metal pipe does underground from things like heaving and stuff like that?
Well, the reason for using it, if you are just in soil, you could use a metal conduit.
Right.
If there were ledge or something that was uneven,
Right.
then you pour concrete on top of that and it's secure.
Oh, okay.
So having the two materials be an option allows you to fit each particular situation.
Okay.
So if you can get the depth and it's straight, you use metal.
Metal pipe.
If you can't get the depth because of bedrock, then you cover it with concrete to protect it.
So you're sealing it to the rock, in effect?
Essentially, you can't go any deeper, so
Right.
you're putting, and if you hit that with an excavator to dig it, it's
You
gonna
hit
stop
the
you from hitting
concrete
it.
first.
Yeah,
Okay, thank you.
so, I mean, I think it's a choice for anything that you run into.
Yep.
So, metal conduit, and actually I might have to read the application for Green Mountain Power, but I think it's 4 inches. It might be 6 inches of concrete, but I think it's 4. I mean, do we want to get specific with that language about,
But you could also just refer to their standard, which is in the other application, typical trench cross-country, cross-section standard
It's minimum,
on page 48.
minimum of 4-inch concrete.
yeah, okay, that's what I thought.
And they're gonna do this anyway.
What's that?
So this is their standard, that they're gonna meet it. They have to.
Right, and that's why, because we're always going to be dealing with them, that I think it makes sense to adopt their standard, because that way they can do it sort of as they normally would, and it brings everybody to their standard, because,
Good, encased in metal or concrete in keeping with standard, Green Mountain Power standard number 2125.
so where would we insert that? All conduit crossing the town highway being buried a minimum of 48 inches below the finished grade, and using metal conduit or concrete in keeping with Green Mountain Power standards, standard 2125?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. I would make that motion. I move to approve the access permit application number 2024-06 submitted by Josh Wiley of Wiley Construction on behalf of Jamie and David Deming, And related to Gleeview Lane, Town Highway number 45 in the vicinity of 252 Gleeview Lane, to first install new utility conduit and/or cable below and crossing the traveled portion of Gleeview Lane by way of trenching in 2 locations as shown in the application materials. And authorize the chair to sign the permit on behalf of the board. The permit is conditioned on, 1, the Green Mountain Power Corporation signing as a co-applicant to the permit prior to any work authorized herein. Secondly, all conduit located parallel to the town highway being buried a minimum of 24 inches below grade of the ditch and no closer than 24 inches from the traveled portion of the road. All conduit crossing the town highway being buried a minimum of 48 inches below the finished grade and encased in either metal conduit or 4 inches of concrete, in keeping with Green Mountain Power's standard design 2125 for typical trench cross-section. And all roadway work conducted and materials replaced shall be to the satisfaction of the town's road foreman and/or road commissioner and guaranteed for 1 year, period.
I just want to mention that in the first paragraph where it says 2 locations, I would get rid of the word 2 and just have locations.
As noted.
My recommendation.
Second.
All those in favor? Aye. I assume we check approved with conditions? Okay.
Yes. Yeah. Thank you.
The conditions can be filled in. Josh and I talked about it, but we left it blank until now because we hadn't come up with a plan yet.
Alright, 9C, access permit 2024-08 under the Mountain Road parcel, we have no parcel number.
So it wasn't associated with a road parcel number because the applicant in this case is actually Green Mountain Power. The situation is that they mistakenly, let's just say, for a variety of reasons, Green Mountain Power is on the hook to replace the service from across the road to the residents based on an agreement from years and years ago, and now they finally have to do it because there's new owners and time has passed. So the applicant being Green Mountain Power instead of the owner, because they own the service. This is primary service from the pole under the road to where the residents' secondary service begins near the home. So it's a little bit different than the one we just talked about, but we have the same issue of not having a very clear path for this application process. So we're using a road access permit application, which is the best thing we've got at this point.
Well, they need access to the road, it just happens to be the under.
Right, it's not a driveway access, it's
underground.
It's underground, exactly. So, for means of recording and agreeing and having paperwork on it, this is the way it's gonna work. Hopefully we can fine tune it a little bit. But again, it's kind of the same thing. I would probably use the same guidelines that we just discussed. And it could potentially be a local contractor that does the work. They'll hire somebody to dig and put the conduit in, and then they come and pull their wire. So.
One thing I'm recommending on this one, because they're replacing a pole, I would just have I would recommend we require that they remove the old pole, which is something they tend not to do. Just have them remove it within 6 months, not of necessarily installation, but beginning of service. I know that they have to go down the line to the other utilities, but to put some pressure on them to remove them, because they stay for years. They're unsightly.
Right. I think that will be the challenge because of the percentage that are owned by the phone company and the power company now. I don't know if they own the pole that they're replacing. And actually, they're not really replacing the pole. The line goes by the location, like, I'm gonna make up a number, but say 40 feet from the road. And because of the location and their new standards, they want to be within 15 feet of the roadway so that they can service it. So their ultimate goal is to bring everything to within 15 feet of the road. So the line is going to continue where it goes. They're going to jump from that pole to this pole and then go underground from that pole. So they're really not replacing the other pole.
Your application said they were.
Yeah, it says new pole somewhere in there, but anyway.
Anyway, it's just, if you don't hold their feet to the fire, they're never gonna get rid of them, and they're just these orphan poles sitting out there.
Well, and that's the only reason I was trying to differentiate that I think that the main line will stay on that other pole and they just jump to it and then go underground, but maybe I'm wrong, right?
It's on that.
Does it?
On that yellow piece of paper, the yellow photograph, it says new pole.
Page 47.
Yeah, so the existing pole is shown in red and they go overhead from the red pole to the blue pole and then they go underground under the road. So the line, which is shown in green,
okay, yeah.
is going to stay in place. I don't think that pole can be removed.
Huh.
And Greg explained to me why they wouldn't just go underground from the other pole. And I don't.
It's not right away.
It's something, yeah, it was a situation that I didn't completely
You'd have to get an
understand.
easement from the property owner.
Right. Which if they bring it in, if they just go overhead to the right of way of the road, then they can just start from there and do their thing. It was more complicated for them to go from the original pole, so. In this particular case, I see your point, but in this particular case, I don't think that pole will be able to be removed.
Well, but recommended motions, any utility poles to be replaced, so it's not replacing one. So.
Right, okay, so it could read the same and it may or may not take effect. Is that fair? So I would make the motion as it pertains in the first paragraph, and then I would just replace a few of the items in the second paragraph as we did in the last, if that makes sense. So I move to approve access permit number 2024-08 submitted by the Green Mountain Power Corporation on behalf of Catherine Sullivan and related to Under the Mountain Road, Town Highway number 36 in the vicinity of 994 Under Mountain Road. To 1, install new utility conduit and or cable below and crossing the traveled portion of Under the Mountain Road by way of trenching as shown in the application materials. And authorize the chair to sign the permit on behalf of the board. This permit is conditioned on 1, all conduit located parallel to the town highway being buried a minimum of 24 inches below the ditch level grade and no closer than 24 inches from the traveled portion of the road. And all conduit crossing the town highway be buried a minimum of 48 inches below the finished grade of the roadway and encased in metal conduit or 4 inches of concrete in keeping with Green Mountain Power's standard number 2125 describing the typical trench cross-section. Any poles to be replaced must be removed within 6 months of installation and use of the new pole, and all roadway work conducted and materials replaced shall be to the satisfaction of the town's road foreman and/or road commissioner and guaranteed for 1 year.
Second.
All those in favor? Aye. We all have one sign on that one. The front page on there.
And that one also has a poll petition in it, so all board members, I guess, Tom, you could just sign it.
It says for all board members to sign.
Yeah.
I signed the
Yeah, you
access
can.
permit in the front.
Right, it's 2 things.
Alright, moving on to item 10. Old business. 10A, ratify 6/20/2024 to decision to authorize use of town hall for Weston Theater Company.
That should be an easy one, right?
Yep.
We checked and there was no conflicts, right?
Yep.
We're just ratifying our decision.
I'll make the motion. I move to ratify the board's June 2024 decision to authorize the use of the town hall for a meeting of the Western Theater Company on Saturday, June 22nd, 2024, from 9 a.m. to 1 p.m.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
10B is discussion of Williams Dam Advisory Committee charge. So according to the dam committee's charge, we were supposed to have the recommendation by today.
By today, yeah. Their meeting.
They have a meeting tomorrow. They have the final dam report. So, give them a day or two.
Well,
Next meeting?
I would give it a couple of weeks, well, maybe until the next select board meeting, in case they need to continue discussion or something like that.
Sounds good.
You know, maybe till the 14th and 12th, something like that.
I'll make the motion if you're ready. I move to amend the charge given to the Williams Dam Advisory Committee, originally approved by the Select Board on April 3rd, 2023, and last amended on February 19th, 2024, to allow for the deadline for providing a recommended course of action with regard to alternatives for the dam to be extended from July 1, 2024 to July 14, 2024.
The 14th is a Sunday, does that matter?
I think the point being it's just before the next
Okay.
meeting, right? If there's no objection
Yep.
to that.
I second it.
Second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Alright.
They are having a meeting tomorrow at 4:30, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, I believe it's 4:30, correct, Paul?
4:30. There's supposed to be a recommended course of action.
And Bruce will be there to videotape for GNAT, so.
Sorry?
Bruce will be there to videotape for GNAT, so it'll be available to the public within a day or two.
Comb my hair beforehand. Not comb my hair beforehand.
Too late, you're already on
Need more than
TV.
that. Thank you.
Oh, Jesus.
Tom, Bruce has a question.
Comment. It'll be live streamed at least on YouTube. I couldn't get Facebook to work tonight, and I don't know that it'll be on the channel. It's gonna at least be on YouTube.
Perfect. Thank you.
Thank you.
Alright, moving on to item 11, new business. 11A is review fiscal year 2024 town audit.
It's actually fiscal year 2023.
Right.
Fiscal year 2023 town audit.
I haven't had an audit for this year.
Oh, that's right.
I don't know if any of you actually read it, and I didn't send it out. There was some of the things that they recommended, I was hoping to solve by having new software. which obviously didn't happen.
Yeah,
But I'm still pursuing that
Thank you guys.
Good night.
option with the new software. And I'll
Is that,
post it.
are these reflected, in the management responses to the auditor's findings? I can't remember where that was.
Excuse me, Tom, can I just ask a quick question? Are you guys going to go through the entire 80-page report that was in the packet?
On the audit? I don't.
Because if you are, I'm going to go home and have dinner.
I don't think they need to.
No, but I would like Tina to talk us through the deficiencies that were identified in the January report, and then your response to those, just to talk them through, yeah.
I don't have a copy of it in front of me. Extra packet.
I'm just trying to find them.
It's 56 and 57.
54, yeah, was the major page. And then the responses were later, like 111.
112. If you go to 112, it's got all the same stuff too.
I thought the
Yeah.
deficiencies were
It's got a wall right there just before it. 112. So between
So,
110 and 112.
yeah, so my responses were at the end for
Right.
the deficiencies, and I have struggled with trying to keep an inventory of the transfer station tickets. It's very hard when Esther's taking them out and people are sending me money and not telling me what it's for, so I don't know what they actually have, but I'm working on that still. That's a project that's been on the back burner.
Yeah.
And then I am going to write a policy for general journal entries.
And
Right now,
oversight on those, right?
Well-
Yeah, oversight on those journal entries, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
I'll just present them to you like they're a pay order,
Right.
and you can,
Yep. Yep. So I suggested that we might want to have somebody from the audit firm here one time a year at least, so that we can all go through the audit report with them and just kind of get their feedback.
I don't know if they'll come down. I mean, you can come talk to them when they're here. They're going to be here August 15th and 16th.
Well, even if they zoom in, it's always,
Yeah.
I think, good management to be able to have a one-on-one with your auditors, even though their responsibility is to be very open and black and white in these documents. It's always helpful, because often they might say, this is an issue that lots of towns have, or this is an issue that is only here. So I think the value is to us being assured that you guys are doing everything. It's not meant to be at all.
I want to be checked. I don't want to be-
Again,
And
it's,
that's why they write the deficiency list. And
Sure.
ask me to respond to it.
yeah,
So,
yeah. But I think any good board would want to have a conversation with the audit team or the principal. So, yeah, great, thank you.
It's not uncommon to have that in a town level. They'll come down. And there's no reason why they wouldn't.
Yeah.
We're paying them enough money.
Right.
Every single year.
Right. It's part of their contract, engagement letter. 11B. Well, I'm happy to move to accept the FY 2023 town audit as presented.
Is that 14B? Yeah, approved audit engagement.
No, this is 10A.
Okay.
Move to accept.
Gotcha.
I left something out. The numbering is incorrect on those recommended motions. So yeah, it is, it's 10B.
Don't they redo it?
Should be 10B.
Whatever it is. I move to accept the FY 2023 town audit as presented.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Oh yeah, this says 11A.
Yeah, it should be 11.
And then can I ask another question on the engagement letter? How often do we go out and ask for proposals from other audit firms? it's very good practice, once every 5 years or so, to put it out to bid. You may end up with the same Sullivan Powers and Company, but at least you're doing the due diligence to have other audit firms propose, and you make the selection.
I'd say it's a little late now.
I get it, I
Since
get it,
it's July
yes. I'm just
1st,
saying.
but maybe put it out to bid next March.
But I think we should put it out to bid next year. Well, I mean, when was the last time we put it out to bid?
They were doing the audits before I started, so.
Yeah, yeah,
10
see,
And it
yeah.
hasn't been the same person.
No, but yeah, this is all
Yeah.
good practice, so yeah, okay. So I move to approve the engagement letter with Sullivan Powers and
Hold on.
Company. Oops,
I
sorry.
got a 11B, approve auditor engagement letter, Sullivan and Powers and Company.
Now can I go?
Yep.
I move to approve the engagement letter with Sullivan Powers and Company, Inc. to conduct a full audit of fiscal year 2024. Authorize the select board chair to sign the document on behalf of the board.
It is a full audit, correct?
No,
Oh, no?
last year was full audit, this
Oh.
year is just a partial.
So, excuse me, partial audit. I just grabbed it from
Yeah.
last year.
Okay.
It's a, I don't know what they call it, top down.
Do we have a second?
Second.
All those in favor? Aye. Now, 11C, executive session on appointment or employment or evaluation of a public officer or employee for 1 VSA 313A3.
I move to enter executive session to consider the evaluation or employment of a town employee pursuant to Title I VSA, Section 313A3, and invite Shane and Tina.
You want me here?
Maybe just from the budgeting perspective, I don't.
Well, we're gonna do
Thank you.
Thank you.
first, and then we'll do the, talk about it.
Oh, okay. Yeah, either way, I guess.
Yeah, I think it works both ways.
You want me to speak?
Sure.
Did you vote?
Oh, no. Do we have a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. That's what we agreed on.
Are these, it's just one motion? It's shown separately, but.
Yeah, that's fine. You go? Came out of executive session at 8:53. Anyone care? Nope, we're moving on. 11D, consider employee compensation matters.
I would make a motion to increase road crew member Troy Maynard to $25.75 per hour and add a $50 per month stipend for cell phone. Secondly, I would make a motion to, or continue the motion to increase Josh Dryden to $30.25 per hour. And thirdly, I would continue the motion to increase the annual salary of Sharon O'Keefe to $73,500 effective with the present pay period.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Who wants the last one?
I move to adjourn the meeting.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.